This is ILTV on the Hour, bringing you the biggest stories from Israel and the Middle East in just 5 minutes. I'm Sivan Raviv, and today is day 689 of the war in Gaza. Let's get into all the top headlines of this hour. The IDF spokesperson says the chief of the general staff has been instructed to conduct an initial inquiry as soon as possible into an Israeli strike on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, which reportedly left at least 20 people dead, including 5 journalists from international outlets. The IDF immediately released a statement saying they regret any harm to uninvolved individuals and that they do not target journalists as such. The strike has sparked outrage and intensified scrutiny of Israel's battlefield tactics. The Foreign Press Association denounced it as among the deadliest attacks on journalists since the war began and is demanding immediate answers. Notably, the military clarified the strike was not carried out by the Air Force. As the investigation unfolds, this incident deepens the pressure on Israel amid an already volatile conflict. Damascus is condemning what it calls an Israeli military incursion near the southern town of Beijing, labeling the move a dangerous escalation and a violation of Syrian sovereignty. Officials claim dozens of Israeli soldiers and more than 10 vehicles took part in the raid, part of Israel's wider deployment along the border since the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. The protest comes just hours after Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa confirmed that talks with Israel were at an advanced stage. The proposed deal, backed by Washington and the UAE, would see the Syrian side of the Golan demilitarized in return for reconstruction support. Israeli media also reported agreement on a humanitarian corridor to the Jabal al-Druze region. While U.S. envoy Thomas Barak is pressing Israel to back a wider plan for Hezbollah to disarm by year's end, Damascus' anger over Israeli operations highlights the fragile balance between potential diplomacy and ongoing military friction. Meanwhile, Israel's military says it has killed a Hezbollah operative in southern Lebanon who was attempting to rebuild the group's terror infrastructure. The strike marks the latest in a series of targeted actions designed to prevent Hezbollah's resurgence following heavy losses earlier in the war. According to the IDF, the militant killed had been engaged in re-establishing networks and weapon manufacturing sites within villages south of the Litani River. The operation is part of an ongoing Israeli campaign to neutralize Hezbollah's operational revival, fears that have been magnifying as the war drags on and attempts to restore the group's capabilities intensify. As Israel maintains pressure along its northern border, it cautions that any rebuilding of Hezbollah's presence will be met with swift military consequences. During a visit to the Haifa naval base this morning, IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir said the military has created conditions for a possible hostage deal with Hamas. According to Channel 13 in Israel, Zamir stated, "There is a deal on the table. We need to take it." He added that the IDF has met its objectives in Gaza under Operation Gideon Chariots and that ongoing pressure is paving the way for a breakthrough. With the IDF poised to expand operations in Gaza City, Zamir said the Navy must be ready to support ground forces in the next stage of the offensive. Israelis are preparing for a nationwide day of protest tomorrow, demanding the immediate return of hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. Events will begin at 6:29 a.m., the exact time of the October 7th attacks, with flag displays outside the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv, followed by rallies at major junctions across the country. Demonstrations will include gatherings in Hostage Square, nationwide marches, and an exhibition of drawings by former hostages. Later, participants will write personal messages to the Prime Minister and to the IDF chief before the day culminates in a large march through Tel Aviv, ending with a mass rally under the banner, "Bring them home now." Israel says 4 countries, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Germany, and Indonesia, airdropped 116 pallets of humanitarian aid into Gaza today. Each pallet carried several hundred kilograms of food, according to the IDF. The inclusion of Indonesia is especially notable as the world's largest Muslim-majority country does not maintain relations with Israel. Israel resumed allowing airdrops on July 26 under pressure from mounting international criticism over hunger in Gaza, but the military stresses that while dramatic, the air deliveries are limited. They provide only a fraction of the supplies that can be brought in by land, and they pose risks to civilians on the ground. That's all for this edition. For ILTV on the Hour, we'll continue to give you some of the most important updates coming out of Israel and the Middle East. I'm Sivan Raviv. Thank you very much for watching.